y'all, welcome back to By Devon Nails. If you've been here before, a big welcome back. If it's your first time, I'm so glad that you're joining us. If you love what you see, subscribe, like, and comment. All right, today I am diving into a Nellie Belle's nail collection. Manny, they just released a brand new collection with 12 beautiful colors, including this one here, Isla. It is a seafoamy green color with a rainbow kaleidoscope of these kind of rainbow shards inside of it. So pretty. It also glows, which I hadn't realized until I went back to look at my notes that I'd written down. So it has a lot going on. It's going to be a great color going into fall. It's going to pair with so many different things. Isla is a great full coverage dip, but I did decide to do 2 layers of a white glow underneath. Like I said, I forgot that Isla glowed. But if you are looking for a white glow, this is Poppets from iDippedThat. But First Frost from Nellie Belle's would give a similar look because you're going to cover it up anyways. You're really just looking for a white. And here we go with this cute decal. I am loving it. It is this cute little pineapple with just the most adorable little smile. And I did end up adding in Flocking Fabulous. I really wanted to play off of the decal has just a little bit of pink in it. And I love how Flocking Fabulous is going to pull that pink out and make the whole set cohesive. So I've got 2 layers of that iDippedThat Poppets. And I love to put a glow under a decal, so that's why I added these layers. I also like to put my decal on top of a dip. The Nellie Belle's decals are all white, so they're on white paper. So the color that you put down does not matter as much if you're using a decal that is a clear background. Having that white can really help the colors pop. Having the white paper kind of achieves the same effect. But here, I've only ever put a decal onto dip, so I'm not sure how it would interact with just my natural nails or just the nail tips. So I kept with my regular process of putting those 2 layers down. As a reminder, our Not a Pro tip today is that you totally can use your finger to push down these chunky bits in either a chunky glitter or with these like chunky shards that Isla has. I use my finger to kind of nudge them. I'm using my iDippedThat liquids, so they do have a kind of medium dry time, so I can nudge around those little pieces, get them exactly where I wanted. And you can see here, this is only 1 layer, so it is very much full coverage. It is gorgeous, even coverage on those shards with very little effort on my part. I did tap my container a few times just to pull them up to the top. So I'm going to clean up my work surface and I'm done with Isla now. That 1 layer is gorgeous and I don't need to put any more on there to kind of keep out the bulk. And I've got a gorgeous color. I am going to put a second layer of Flocking Fabulous because it is a little bit jelly and that color is going to build. So I'm going to get a deeper color by having that second layer. So what I'm going to do in this video is mostly talk through my process for decal application, and I'm going to let the video behind just run. There's nothing technically advanced or special in what I'm doing here. I'm going to dip all of these into a white, then activate and all of those things. So I'm going to talk through the process and then I'm going to slow down the video and talk through it again while the video matches up with the directions. I personally find this really helpful to have heard it and then to see it, so I hope that you do as well. So the first thing, you need to gather some supplies. You're going to need some water, a small dish, scissors, a jelly stamper is helpful, but it's definitely not 100% necessary, lint-free wipes, acetone, alcohol or activator, a sticky base coat, and clear dip. So once you get into the actual decal application process, the first thing you're going to do is soak your decal in water. I like to do it for less than about 15 to 20 seconds. You're going to find out what's perfect for you. Then remove the excess water using your lint-free wipes, and then you're going to kind of roll the paper backing off of the decal using that jelly stamper. After I've rolled off the paper, that's when I put my thin coat of sticky base coat. I like the clear jelly stamper base coat onto my nail tip. I let that dry until it's tacky. I don't wait too long to let it dry, but you can figure out what's best for you in terms of that timing. And then I apply my decal with my finger or my stamper. You can, again, find out what works best for you. I kind of use a combination of the two. You'll see here in the video in a second. Then you're going to smooth down from the middle towards the sides and snip to help remove any excess with your scissors and get it to fit over that C-curve. All right, so now that we've talked about the process, you can see that the video has caught back up with us. And all I'm doing here is my regular steps for activating. I'm gonna activate and buff all of the nails, including the nail that I'm gonna put the decal on. I like to make sure that it's super smooth. Usually the decal will kind of help to cover up any bumps, but if there's any big ones, it could kind of snag the decal and you'll end up with a rip. So I try to make sure they're especially smooth. I just use my regular little pink buffing blocks, nothing super fancy there. All right, now we're ready to get into the decal process. So you can see here, I'm putting a little bit of water into my little dish and I'm gonna cut out the decal that I want. Look at how adorable these are. I'm so excited for you all. There are so many cute styles up on the Nellie Belle's page right now. I can't wait to see everything that you all do with them. So I cut it all the way around. I leave a tiny little bit of white just so that I have kind of wide nail beds, so I want to make sure I get all of this decal because I will need it to go over mine. Then I set it in the water and I try as hard as I can not to get too much water on the actual decal because that will kind of degrade it. They are water soluble. And after about 15 to 20 seconds, I dip it just slightly in, you saw there, and then I take it off, put it on my lint-free wipes, to kind of tap off all of that excess water, and then I grab out my jelly stamper, I set it on top, and I just roll that paper right off. It usually comes right off. If you are having trouble getting your paper off, dip it back into the water for just a short amount of time, and then try again. You really want to go with as little water as possible. Once again, it can kind of degrade the picture if you let it put for too long. Then I do my thin coat of a sticky base coat. I love the Clear Jelly Stamper sticky base coat. You can use Devon 10 to save over there. You can also use Devon 10 at Maniology. I know a lot of people really like theirs as well. And then I use a combination of my stamper and my finger to kind of get this decal where I want it. I love the sticky base coat as compared to using just my dip liquids, which you totally can do, but you get more time to, as you see here, kind of wiggle your decal and get it exactly where you wanted it. I wanted these pineapples to be the main show, but because there's on this decal, there's 2 rows of pineapples, I had to kind of shimmy it just a little to get one sort of in the middle of where I wanted it. Luckily, these are long enough that I had a lot of extra room in terms of the length, and actually the width was really good even for my ginormous nail beds. So that is one thing that I do personally check is I make sure that my decal hasn't gotten skewed to the side because then I'll end up with a little bit of a gap on the side of my nails, especially as I am here, I'm using one of my larger nails. So you'll find what works best for you. Then because these are just a slightly different texture, they feel more like paper than the Nailzinacoffin decals, which I think almost feel a little bit jelly to me. Because these are more like paper, I did have less trouble getting them to kind of curve around the edges, but they were a little bit more delicate. So as I was I'm a little bit more used to that jelly texture where you can kind of almost like pull it a little bit, and it will get like a little bit bigger. So you can use acetone, an acetone pen, or even just your brush with your activator to help melt the decal around the edges. This is especially helpful when you're doing it on your natural nails because you can't just take a scissor into where your cuticle line is or where your sidewalls are like I can here. So I put activator on top of my decal. You can see me doing that here. That helps to take out any wrinkles. I did not have a lot of wrinkles with this decal, which was super exciting. It went down pretty flat and pretty easily, curved around the edges, but I always just do 1 or 2 layers of that activator, and then I can kind of press down lightly with my finger. Once you've done your activator and you've gone around the sides and you have your decal how you want it, you're then going to encapsulate your decal, and this will help to get decal longevity. You're not going to end up with your decal kind of getting rubbed away. So I wipe my decal down with alcohol because I have just used activator on it. So just like when you do activator before doing your top coat, you want to make sure you get as much of that off as you can so that you don't contaminate your base. Because I just want to be really careful with this decal because I'm newer to this style, I just kind of tapped with my lint-free wipe. I think it could have maybe been a little bit more rough than I am being here. I'm being like really gentle, but you'll find as you do it, I always think it's better to be more gentle and not rip than you've gotten it on and done all the work and then you accidentally rip it. So you see here, I'm putting on my base and I'm doing a similar kind of technique to I do when I do my first layer of top coat where I get like a little bead on it so that my brush doesn't actually touch the decal where that activator was. I let that first layer of base coat dry completely. It doesn't take very long. And then I do a second layer and dip into my clear. I'm using the KMG Clear as Day here. It is an amazing clear. Any clear will do, but I think that this one is especially crystal clear. And on top of the decal, you don't want any fogginess or kind of cloudiness. So once I've put on my clear, I pretty much follow my same normal steps like I would if I was encapsulating anything. I do my stiff brush to knock away any of the excess clear. That stiff brush is going to help you to not get cloudiness. So any clear, even an amazing crystal clear like this one, you still need to use that stiff brush. I do use a buffing block to buff it nice and smooth. And because I have that clear on there, I really don't have to worry about hurting my decal. You can see I kind of tipped my buffer underneath to get out some of those bigger pieces that were on the underside. And once that clear is on there and it's been activated, that helps you too because the rest of it is super hard. Those little pieces come off pretty easily. So now I'm going in with my second layer of activator. Before doing my top coat, I'm going to wipe that all off because the last thing I want to do is contaminate my amazing top coat. And then I'm just going in with a regular dip liquid top coat. If you are going to do a gel to encapsulate your decal, you will need to do a gel base first instead of those clear layers that I did. But I really like my just regular clear. I don't have to use a UV. And I do make sure that I really cap my edges with that top coat for the decal because that's going to help keep it on nice and long. And here is our final look. I love it. It is the perfect end of summer mani. And I hope that this helps you as you're putting together your new Nellie Belle sets with all of these really beautiful decals. Let me know in the comments what you're planning to use, and I hope to see you here again. This has been By Devon. Bye, y'all.